is down with the EQ? Cool. So now let's talk about the compressor. Let's go back to that lovely, isn't she a great singer? It's Jennifer Carr. She's one of the top session singers in New York City. She's totally rocks. Okay, so let's go back to the vocal. I'm going to remove the solo sax because I'm doing a demo here. I'm not mixing.
It's not that
Okay, look at
I want to
the compressor.
make it difficult for you.
So,
We could be.
what do I like about this compressor? I like the fact that A, it's completely transparent. Okay, I'm going to add more and more compression. Listen to the high end of this track.
It's not that I want to
Okay.
make it difficult.
Okay, so super compressed,
It's not that.
not compressed.
It's not that.
You don't get this wonderful effect that I compress too much. Why is that? Because the Oxford EQ, the Oxford compressor doesn't do this to your signal because it's completely transparent. You could push up to like 12, 14 dBs of reduction and you don't hear it. That's an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool because you don't have to put your compressor, your EQ after your compressor. By the way, let's take a poll here because that always entertains me. Who puts their EQ before their compressor? Me. Who puts their EQ after their compressor? Me. There's no rules. But I would say that it's probably a safe bet that if you have an acoustic track with a lot of garbage on it, you know, low end rumble, and if your vocal sounds like this when you start your mix,
It's not that.
you might want to EQ before you compress. And here's why. If you have, say, a big bump at 60 hertz, your compressor is going to compress that bump, right? So remove the bump and then compress. Now, if you want to make a bass drum that's going to shake the walls of the entire universe, then add the 12 dBs again at 60 hertz after your compressor so that your compressor doesn't kill that. You know what I mean? Am I making sense? All right. If I'm not making sense, just throw something at me, okay? Something soft. All right. So the idea here is that there's no hard rules, but dirty signal, EQ first. Boost, EQ after. Fair? Okay. The compressor is completely transparent, which is great. It is also very fast. And also it has one wonderful thing, is that it's followed by a limiter. I'm personally physically allergic to compression. It's a birth defect. But I'm able to get really good sound with this compressor by using little compression and a little limiting. Why? It's better to use two different kind of processes with different threshold rather than use one big thing to squash your whole track. Fair? Okay, so let's listen to this track as is. Here we go.
It's not that.
Okay, so
I
as you can
want
tell,
to
there's about
make
8
it
dBs of reduction on the vocal,
difficult for you.
I would say.
We could be
And then
so happy
I'm going to bring in my limiter.
with nothing left to lose.
Okay, now let's listen to the attacks. Like, it's not that I want to. Those attacks, if I remove my limiter,
It's not that I want to.
okay, that T is a little too much, right? So I have several options. I can compress more, but then it's going to sound more compressed, which I don't like. I can leave it, which is not a good idea, because if I leave it, then I'm not going to be able to have a loud record, and it seems that the trend is in loud records. So if you have those peaks, you have to take care of them. It's hard to take care of them. I'll use the limiter. Let's look at my system. My attack on my compressor is at 5 milliseconds. You can see it. And then my attack on my limiter is at 0 milliseconds, which means that my compressor is just going to do some basic gain management, and then my limiter is going to catch the annoying stuff that makes me unhappy. And it sounds like this.
It's not that I want to.
Okay, now
make it.
I would like to target that limiter into certain frequencies. Who's familiar with frequency conscious compression? Me! Okay, so here's what it is. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you had a relationship with your compressor that allowed you to do things like this? Say, yo, buddy, I would like you to compress this more than you compress that. That would be a cool thing. Well, actually, with the Oxford compressor, you can do that. How? Simple. They have a built-in EQ. You can actually use it as an EQ, just a plain EQ. You know, you just turn it on.
It's not that I want to.
And then go crazy.
Make it.
You know, not that practical, but you know, you can do that if you want to. Why am I using this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my signal, I'm going to put the EQ on, I'm going to listen to it, I'm going to choose the frequencies that are offensive to me. All right? The stuff I don't like. And I'm going to exaggerate those frequencies. Let's do that.
It's not that I want to make it difficult for you. We could.
That, shh, all that stuff. Okay, so I make that too loud. Fair? Everybody still with me? Okay. Then I remove it from my signal, click, and I put it in my side chain. So what's happening now is that my limiter compressor is listening to this exaggerated signal. So it's going to overreact to those frequencies. It sounds like this.
It's not that I want to make it.
It basically shaves off the excess stuff, and I can choose how much by putting more gain on my EQ.
It's not that I want to.
See the T? Listen to the T on 2.
It's not that I want to.
Okay, we started here.
I want to.
With my processing.
I want to.
See how the T is just shaved off? So you could use this to make de-essers. You could use this to make de-harshers. You could use this to make sure that the compressor doesn't freak out if you have low-end rumble. You can use this to basically custom tailor your track very easily. It's wonderful for lazy people like me. Anybody else is lazy? All right? Because otherwise, you would have to run that one by one. This is what I used to do. Hate that stuff. All right, so this is the great way. Let me make sure that my track still sounds okay.
I want to.
Too much?
Make it difficult for you. We could be so happy with nothing left.
A little more of the side chain.
I know it may seem complicated.
So it's a compressor, limiter, also has a expander, built-in, whatever you want to call it, de-esser, EQ, de-harsher, enhancer, whatever, all in one plugin. It's pretty amazing. I just love this thing. I love this thing. Here's another plugin that pretty much changed everything.